Chances are you already know about leverless controllers. If not, you're already making my point. I was scrolling on Facebook and I saw an advertisement for the Corsair Nova Blade Pro. One of the comments jumped out and said, "What is this for?" And I thought, leverless controllers need a rebranding. Because when you click on it and go to their website, then it says fighting game controller. The fighting game niche isn't that big where it justifies these big companies or manufacturers getting into the game, especially this late. Hitbox has been out since like 2010, but didn't really like hit peak popularity as far as like people knowing until around Street Fighter V. So that would have been around like 2016, 2017 or so. And since then, many other smaller companies have come out with their own versions of Hitbox. But at the same token, in the past couple years, many big manufacturers have done it too. We have the Razer Kitsune, which is one that I was interested in, the Nova Blade that I previously mentioned, and then also HyperX is coming out with one. But they're late to the game, extremely late, and they're not competitively priced. In a world where the average consumer is going to look at that and say, what the hell is that? Then when you start to explain it, they're going to realize that it's basically a keyboard with button caps over it. They're probably not going to want to buy into it. And I may have already stated this, but the fighting game niche is not enough to sustain this business model, especially when they probably already have something like this already. Like, what are the chances that someone is looking at the Nova Blade, or I think Victrix also came out with one, and they're like, damn, I've been playing fighting games for quite some time. I really want to get this super expensive leverless controller. If you look on the website for the Nova Blade, you'll actually see the Nova Blade right now is $249.99. And you scroll down and it says more to consider, and then there's a gaming chair for $269.99. Now for $20 more, they're probably going to buy something they're more familiar with because they know how to use the chair. And honestly, everyone needs a chair. Not everyone needs a fighting game controller. Now what if we rebranded that? And instead of it being a fighting game controller, it was just a controller. No, I get a controller is too vague, but maybe we look at the idea that you can play more than just fighting games with this controller. Maybe that would help it out. You could probably play your Super Marios, your Sonics, stuff like that. But things like Hollow Knight and other stuff, if it doesn't require the right analog stick, you should be able to play that on a leverless controller. What about racing games? The kind of racing games I'm talking about are like the Trackmania style ones where you're not really going to steer and stuff like that. It's more like those micro and precise inputs that you want to really shave down time. At high level, people playing Trackmania and games of that sort aren't even using controllers. They're using keyboards for that. And as I alluded to earlier, that's basically what a leverless controller is. With that in mind and the idea of appealing to a mass audience, we also want to consider that these new ones are just too plain. The controllers now, the leverless controllers, they don't have the freedom to customize like from these bigger manufacturers as someone like at Hot 42 or a Junk Food Customs with their snack box, or other people that are making these have the ability to really customize it and make it your own. I've had two leverless controllers. My first one, which was a Hot 42, I actually lost in my move. And then my second one, which is the Hot 42 U16, that's more like a showpiece. I don't think I like a heavier controller in that kind of regard, but I was able to customize the art, and now I'm like, this is dope, and this is what this is for. Ironically, I am in the market for another leverless controller that I'll actually use, which is what kind of brought me to this. When you look at the Razer Kitsune, there's two, maybe three different variants of it, but you can't customize that. This Nova Blade, you can't customize. And the HyperX stick, they say you can 3D print a case, but honestly, I don't have a 3D printer. I'm not the kind of guy that wakes up in a flannel shirt with a curly mustache that grinds their coffee beans before they brew their coffee. I'm a Folgers guy. I just want shit to work. I just want it to be easy to replace my artwork, and that's something that these bigger manufacturers don't necessarily do. With this HyperX, it's like, if I have access to a 3D printer, I'm gonna 3D print an entire case, and I'm just gonna DIY with one of these controllers. Why would I give them $200 and then turn around and 3D print like a shell or like a faceplate that would go on this? You see where I'm going with this? It's kind of silly to do all that. And then you add in the fact that you're already marketing to a group that probably has 2 or 3 of these controllers already. You're extremely late to this, and the price point isn't competitive to what's out there, because honestly no one's gonna spend $250 to $300 to try a leverless controller and not be sure if they like it or not. At least with an arcade stick that's somewhat familiar from if you're a kid that grew up in the arcades, or even in this like arcade 1-up generation. But an all button controller is a little intimidating, and it takes a little bit to get used to. I bought the Hot 42, I think it's the M13, to try out leverless, and that was like $80. I wouldn't spend Razer Kitsune money to see if I like leverless controllers. And I'm not saying this like they're wrong for their price point. No, this is the house that Hitbox built. So when Hitbox is charging $200-300, what do you really expect? The Google of leverless controllers, they look at what Hitbox is charging, especially with like the PlayStation licensing or whatever, and they try to hit the same ballpark, except they can afford to undercut Hitbox and be more competitive with some of these other people if they really want to sell these products. It makes me confused, like what is the point of even putting this out? Aside from the build quality, which is debatable whether it'd be better than some of the ones that are out there or not, they're not offering anything unique. Like the Nova Blade, the Razer Kitsune, a couple other ones, they're just black boxes with RGB. You can go on Amazon and find a keyboard like that. The keyboards range from like really cheap to really expensive. And if it's basically a flat keyboard, maybe they should figure out a way to find a happier medium as far as the price point, because it's not like a reflex buy. You're not going to be like, oh, okay, well, let me just sneeze $250 at this leverless controller, like with some better marketing, some customization, and maybe a better price point. Maybe you would.